Okay, the last party we're going to talk about is the Libertarian Party. The Libertarian Party was established in 1971. The Libertarian Party's ideology is definitely to the right, to the far right. They're even further conservative or to the right than the Republicans. So we're going to put they're fiscally conservative, but they're very, very fiscally conservative. Actually, at one point, libertarian really was called liberalism, and liberalism is how we ran governments up until just recently. I'd say within the last 100 years is when governments start changing from a libertarian system to a more conservative or democratic system, a mixed economy system we have today, where the government is actually involved in the economy. True libertarians do not believe the government should be involved in the economy at all. We'll start there. At the top right-hand corner, you have the last presidential candidate who ran. It was actually Governor Gary Johnson, and he was actually a Republican who was governor of the state of New Mexico for about 8 years, and then he became a libertarian. He switched over to the Libertarian Party because he was more conservative than the Republicans. They were not conservative enough for him. So he's farther to the right, or further to the right than the Republican Party. They believe in a free market rules overall, laissez-faire, similar to the Republicans, but they really mean let happen or hands off. The government should really keep their hands off of pretty much everything in the economy. And the government spending should be almost non-existent. It's only for a few things, a few small things like safety, the police, having a standing army to protect us. But they do not want to spend money on, for example, public education is not a libertarian idea at all. The idea you'd spend lots of money on people, making sure people have education, would be seen as a waste of money by the libertarians, and would cause the education to not be that good a quality anyway. So they would say people that want education would pay for it, and people that do not would not pay for it. They believe in little government regulations of business and the American economy, like the Republicans, but they'll go even further. They literally mean as little government as possible. So they're not just conservative, they're to the extreme far right where the government doesn't do very much at all. Some other issues that they would definitely, this is where they definitely split with the Republican Party. They support individual liberty in personal and economic affairs. So where the Republicans feel that there is a moral right and wrong and that the predominant majority's views are Christian, the libertarians would say religion is not to come across through the government at all. So the government would stay out of all that stuff. Not just economics, but your personal liberties. So actually, in this sense, when it comes to personal liberties, they're more democratic. They're more like the Democrats are liberal. And the idea that the Constitution means that the government should stay out of all these things in your personal life. But then in terms of economics, they're even further to the right than the Republicans, and they think the government should stay out of the economy altogether, other than maybe simple things like making sure your food is clean and you don't die from getting poisoned. Avoidance of foreign entanglements and military and economic intervention in other nations' affairs is a huge difference between libertarians and Republicans. Libertarians think that the government should not be getting involved overseas at all. So while you have Republicans like John McCain, who's even criticized Barack Obama and the Democrats for not being militant enough and refusing to send, weapons and soldiers to Syria to stop conflicts overseas, libertarians are laissez-faire, hands-off all issues outside of the country. They're actually what we call isolationists, and that's a very important term you understand. An isolationist is somebody that thinks that the government of America should only worry about America and not be involved in conflicts or issues outside of America. So true isolationists would not get involved in foreign wars at all. So a true isolationist, for example, would even go as far as to not be involved in World War I, because World War I was Europe's problem. Now, once we did get attacked, an isolationist might change their point of view. So if it's a defense issue where America is being attacked, libertarians would be okay with fighting a war to protect America and make sure that we have our rights. But they're very, very removed from the idea of the U.S. being the police of the world or getting involved in other countries' conflicts. They're very much in favor of free trade. They do not like tariffs or any government regulations on what's coming in or out of the country. So taxes on imports would be a bad idea if you're a libertarian, and taxing things within the country is a terrible idea. So they want free trade and migration. People are free to go wherever they want. Movement inside of the country. They are usually strict on immigration, though they don't want a lot of people coming into the country. But once you're in America, you can move, migrate. Businesses should be moving all the time where they can get the best tax cuts or placement. They calls for constitutional limitations on government as well as the elimination of most state functions. Wow. So most of the things that states do today, they want to limit or eliminate altogether. So for example, we talked about how public education is not in the Constitution. Therefore, the libertarians would say it shouldn't even exist. So if it's not a federal concern like having a standing army or having some kind of police force to make sure we're safe, then it probably shouldn't exist. That's what a libertarian's point of view is. So public education, all health care that we have, like Medicare, Medicaid, they would want to get rid of all this stuff. They say it's a waste of money. People have to be responsible, and they're about personal responsibility. They're very, very conservative, and that you yourself should save all your money, get ready for retirement or when you get older, and people need to work harder to make better wages. They would be against eliminating the minimum wage. You wouldn't need a minimum wage. They say the market will regulate itself, meaning under laissez-faire economics, if somebody's willing to work for $2 an hour, then the market will pay them $2 an hour. That's what they're worth. It's not for the government to say there's got to be some standard or how much money somebody makes, or that people should get benefits. If somebody's really good at their job, they'll get paid better, and the company will want to give them benefits, would be the argument. So that is the last party we're going to talk about in our video. So the Libertarian Party and the Green Party was the first one. The Libertarians are to the far right, even further to the right than the Republicans, and the Green Party we talked about earlier was to the far left, even further left than the Democrats. Well, I'm glad to have you guys with me, and I hope you're getting this information down so we can talk about it in class. Take care.